So what should you do if you want to disinherit someone? I'm Michael Redden, and if you have any questions or comments about this topic, please leave them down below. If you'd like to plan with me, then go to reddenlawoffice.com and click on Schedule a Meeting. Well, this is a very sensitive topic. We hope it never happens, but a lot of times there may be a reason why we want to leave someone out of our will or out of our trust. Maybe we've already given them a large amount of money or inheritance while they're alive. Maybe we just don't get along, that kind of thing. And there's a reason why we want to do that. But there's also kind of a delicate way to handle this situation, just like any of the others. There's a couple of schools of thought on this. Some people say, it's very important for communication that you let that person know and other people know that you do intend to disinherit someone and why. This could be a good option before you go and do that. If it is that I've already given you your inheritance piece, or if you have that reason, you've got that kind of communication level so that everyone knows you meant to do it, and it becomes a more firm thing in case that person sues you or do things later. There are a lot of folks who think that just by doing that and telling them, if there are hurt feelings, you can make it much more likely that someone's going to sue after you died or challenge things or cause family kind of disharmony. And then they say maybe you shouldn't do it that way. Well, whether or not you tell them, that's kind of a personal decision on how you want to go about it. And that piece there is going to be different from family to family, different from circumstances, and different from your comfort level. But beyond that communication piece, which is usually very important, we've talked about a lot of family communication things, and it's super important if you want to keep things together and make everything transition nicely and kind of ease pain and burdens. But there's also a technical side to this. If you want to leave someone out of your will, then or your trust, you want to specifically call that out. Don't just leave their name out. Say, I am specifically disinheriting my son. I am specifically disinheriting Susan or James. You need to say it like that, because otherwise they could say, hey, they loved me. They were going to leave me things. This was a clerical mistake. This was an error. And they can go into court, and if they're able to convince a judge that that's probably an error because maybe you didn't tell everybody you intended to do that, and they were surprised too, then they can end up coming back in under some circumstances and taking a share. That has happened before. It's rare, but it happens. Another thing you might want to think about doing, beyond specifically naming them, is putting in a clause that keeps them from contesting the will, contesting the trust. It's commonly called a no contest clause. And the technical term for that is an in terrorem clause, because you're kind of being tyrannical, you're being you want to scare them a little bit. And basically what that clause says is, if you challenge this and you lose, you're out. Now, that makes sure if they're going to start a fight, that it's going to be something that is worthwhile. It's not going to be a frivolous lawsuit, because if they lose, they're out. But you're going to say, Mike, if I specifically disinherited them, what do they have to lose if they're already out? It's a good point. So if you're anticipating there might be some struggle or some issues with it, I would say don't disinherit that person. Leave them something. It doesn't have to be a lot. Leave them something that makes them think, hey, I got something to lose here if I go and challenge this. I could get nothing. At least I have something now. Make them pause, because you want, if there's any challenges, to be real ones. Challenges that are going to say things like, hey, I didn't have the capacity to do that. It was a mistake. Someone pressured me to do it. It wasn't what I wanted. But if it's what you want, that's kind of the way you want to go with it. If you really want to just straight up disinherit them, name them as disinherited in the will. And you might want to consider telling people about it. If you think there might be trouble no matter what you do, then maybe you leave them something. It's not a whole lot. It's something significant. Something they might not want to risk losing, because the majority of people who challenge wills and things don't succeed. Doesn't mean they won't, but the majority of them who challenge them don't. And if you put that no contest clause in there and give them something so they have skin in the game for it, they might think twice and only challenge it if it's something real, if it's something that really bad happened. So it's a very unpleasant topic, but sometimes there are lots of reasons. Maybe you already gave them a lot of money during your lifetime that we want to disinherit someone, and that's really what you should be considering about it. Should I talk to everybody and tell them about it so that it stays there? If I really want to give them nothing, specifically say so. And there are some instances where we want to leave them some money and then tell them if you challenge this and lose, you don't get anything. That makes them think about it. So if you have any questions or comments about this, please leave them down below.